Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a quick review on the Army Painter's Rising Sun starting paint set. This is out today for $30. You get 10 paint sets, kind of specially picked for Rising Sun. I'll explain that in a bit more detail, but first let's see kind of just what you get. So, I'm going to move this box here, and you get this kind of, they offer this for free, so don't necessarily take this as an added value. That being said, it is valuable. So this is kind of their painting guide, kind of their beginner's guide here. You know, spray, paint, dip, done. And it really explains a whole lot here, especially for new, both maybe different tools you'll need and kind of prep work and, glue and whatnot to picking a primer and what they offer and when to use what, how to do it. I mean, this just goes into detail of maybe base coating and then the difference between metallics and acrylics and quick shades and effects and just a whole lot of different stuff. Dry brushing, different color palettes, you get shading, highlighting chart. This is pretty cool. Essentially you, like if this is your starting color, then this is a good wash to use with it, and then the different highlights you can put on it. Putting a shade and wash over metals. This is what I do in my Bane video, so you can check out that from Batman Gotham City Chronicles on some of his metal. Very cool effect, very neat idea. Just a whole lot of different things about their brushes and basing, which again you should always do. Some tips on varnishing, just a lot of good information here. Very cool. I've been painting for a while and I still enjoyed leafing through this and reading different portions of it. Very, very nicely put together. Quality ad right there. Okay, so about the paints. So as I said, this is a starting set, and what I mean by that is it comes with kind of your basics, right? So first of all, it comes with black and white. Now this is probably the most important part, because first of all, if you've been painting before, you should already have a black and white. These are kind of staples. These are the first two things you get besides whatever color you want. The white allows you to highlight, blacks allow you to darken, and is, both can just be used as their own color as well. Just very obvious picks for that, right? Then you get kind of your staple colors, your red, blue, and yellow. Now, what's kind of cool about these is while they have really cool names like Autumn Red, right? Autumn for Rising Sun, Winter Blue, and Summer Yellow. They're actually on the side here, you can see, and I know you can't maybe see this right now, so I'm going to say it for you, but it says matches pure red, and then kind of the unique identifier that Army Painter uses for their pure red color. So when you run out of this red and you need to buy more, you will buy the pure red, and that will be an exact match. This is just a rebranding of that. And so these are all, none of these are unique colors, they're just colors for their from their existing line and then kind of picked specifically for Rising Sun, which is kind of cool. So then you have the brown here, and you always need a brown. Browns are very important, especially for any fantasy or non-tech or sci-fi miniature painting, and even then you'll still be using brown. And a very good brown too. This is their werewolf fur brown that you can really highlight up pretty well or darken, and it has a good color there. And then you have the tanned flesh. Again, you're going to need a skin color. This is maybe a bit darker than I typically like, but again, you can lighten that up well. And then you have kind of your accent colors here. So this is where the green and purple come in. Now, greens and purples, especially this kind of green and purple, are really hard to mix anyway, so it's kind of nice to have them. But specifically, if you think like Turtle Clan, the Oni of Plagues, and you think Lotus purples and, I don't know, maybe the Lotus Clan, these are very good colors for Rising Sun. Very useful to have. I already talked about the white and black, and then of course you get Katana Metal, which is their plate mail metal. This is a very kind of middle ground silver. It's not their darkest, it's not their lightest, which means it's perfect for kind of general use. And again, you can't actually mix paints with metallics, and it'll still keep that shine and kind of shift the color one way or the other. Now, I will say, if we look on the back of the box here, or bring this back, you'll see that it kind of lists everything you got here, right, with the black and the white being kind of most important here. And then it shows this model over here and this model over here. Now, these are very well done miniatures in that they make me look bad, right? They got the non-metallic metal swords and, some really good wash on the on the shield. This did not come with a wash or a shade of any kind to kind of darken that up. So that'd be very difficult, though possible, to do with, you know, mixing in different levels of black to kind of darken it. Anyway, it's just showing you kind of how they picked different things. So they have the yellow here pointing to kind of his yellow, and the red pointing to the red, and the tan flesh pointing to his skin, and the blue on his kind of, you know, inner skirt here, and then the katana metal on the sword and all that. So you get a sense of what you would do if this is all you had, where you would put these paints. And again, this yellow, you could do with this. You get the yellow, and then you prime it. You may even darken it a little bit for the shadows, and then bring it up to the main level, and then add some white, and then add some highlights to it. You can play around with it. There's quite a bit here. Also does mention these core brushes here. This is their most wanted set, which comes with a dry brush, a small dry brush, the regiment brush, and an insane detail brush. It's what I use on all of my videos, highly recommended. So you get some good brushes there. They're very good brushes to use a lot of painting. I just finally replaced mine, and I painted every video on my page with that first set here. Okay, so when it comes to mixing colors, right, it's not just adding the white and black. So you can take this brown, for instance, and then you can take this red, and then you could make a good red leather, or you can, a lot of browns shifting kind of the red spectrum a little bit. So you can do stuff like that, right? Or you can take the metal and add some blue to have it kind of like a cool steel kind of color there. I mean, there's a lot you can actually do here. And I will say, I've actually been using these in my last few videos. So I haven't been calling it Katana Metal. Instead, I will put plate mail metal. And so when you see that, this is actually what I've been using. Because again, it's the same thing. I'm just trying to make it to where on the channel it's consistent. So if you're just picking one, you know what to kind of look for. This might confuse people because you can't buy this on its own. You'd have to buy it in a pack. So I've been using these throughout my videos. I've used them on my just recent Patreon video for the Dragonfly Daimyo of Rising Sun. And I've used it outside of Rising Sun on stuff like Bane from Gotham City Chronicles and stuff like that. These are very good paints. I've been very happy with them. Speaking of Army Painter paints in general, I have found that they are a little bit more liquidy than some of the other companies that I've gone with. And I actually really like that because you have to water down and thin your paints anyway. And so this just requires me to do less of that, which is good because the medium they use is better than the water I'm using, because the water dries up much quicker than the medium does. So they don't dry out on my brush as quickly. And I will say that on the Army Painter paint line, all of them have the same medium in there, the same consistency, which is nice because often, at least of the main colors here, often you get some like a white will be much thicker than the other colors or something like that, which can make it difficult to mix. And these mix very, very well, especially on a homemade wet palette with a Tupperware bowl of some kind. So very, very nice. Highly recommended if you are new, just because if you just want one quick purchase and you're in and out, then that is a good purchase to have, because you get kind of the basics and what you would need to get started. And then once you get started, you can progress to more and more paints. Speaking of which, there is a Army Painter Mega Paint Set. So this will be a separate review I will post at a later time. So this is not going to be here. What I want to talk about here is upgrading from the starter set to something like this, right? So this is 50, right here, 50 paints, right? And you get a ton of colors, and they're all fantastic, and some washes. This is highly recommended after you upgraded that. If you just want to then have, you know what, I need, these are not all of the paints, by the way. Army Painter makes a ton of paints. It's almost never ending. However, you get a lot of greens and a lot of reds and a lot of blues and a lot of grays and several silvers, and great set here. I'll talk about that later. When you upgrade, though, there will be some repeats. So I'm going to talk about that just so you understand what that involves. Okay, so we have the 10 paints here that we start with, and I'm going to bring out all of the repeats because not all of them are. So you get plate mail metal in that mega set, right? Replaces the Katana Metal. You get the matte black and matte white. You get an alien purple, which matches the purple Lotus or the Lotus purple. And you get a pure red, which matches the autumn red. Now, here's what I'm going to say about this. This is the middle tier, the middle shade lightness of silver, you're going to use this up, right? This will be used up and you'll need some more. You already have some. I'm not going to count that as a loss. Same with white and black. You're going to use white and black, right? No problem at all. Having more is not any harm there. The red, this is kind of the default pure red, right? So it's a very basic red, probably something you'll be using up just because it's a pretty common red, and it's easy to mix and match into what you have. So especially if you don't have a lot of specialty reds, you're going to use that a lot. So that leaves you with this purple, and depending on what you're painting, you may or may not need this much alien purple. So this one's kind of debatable, and it's probably the only one. And considering you get, 50 other paints, one that's repeated isn't too bad. And all of these are now extra. You do not have a replacement for the Babe Blonde or the Viking Blue, right? So these are unique colors that you don't have from the Mega Paint set. So it's very easy to upgrade to and still stay within the system of buying in bulk, which saves you a ton of money. The Mega set's at like less than $2 per pot, which is a crazy deal for these gaming colors. So that's really my thoughts on the starting set for the Rising Sun Army Painter set. Again, I'm actually pretty happy with it. I think it's a very smart color choice. You get, plenty of colors that are really nice to have, that are super useful, that I've been using, and I have a ton of colors from various different companies. And as you've seen in my videos, I've been using these Army Painter paints pretty heavily. So I'm pretty happy with it, and hopefully this was informative enough to help you decide on whether or not it's a good purchase for you. Anyway guys, thanks for the time, and I will talk to you soon.